Yes, sir.
I have a couple of ones. First of all, I'm listening to this budget meeting and so forth. We're also in a time when we're in a very precarious situation our gun rights situation. I was wondering, how much of the governor's outrageous so-called fees and application fees and registration fees and fingerprint fees and everything else has to do with the budget. The budget, balance the budget in the backs of students, and gun owners. I mean, that's 4 million guns in the state of Connecticut. That's a lot of money with all these extra fees and everything else. And then I think that's not fair. I think that's outrageous. And I think that's unconstitutional. Another thing, I hear a lot of police officials from different parts of the country, such as in Tennessee, Wisconsin, Missouri, and other places that come out, and they tell me, because the budget's constrained, we can't really protect you the way we used to. So get out your guns, and you're responsible for your own protection until we get there, which might be an hour or two. When does that happen to us in Connecticut? When do the people in Connecticut find out about it? That's another thing I want to see. And then about the governor, he just went about the governor. Well, I was wondering too whether something that's steering the governor's actions has something to do not only with President Obama, but because it seems like whatever he sees Obama do, he does later on. But maybe the thing that guy's posting on is the United Nations. There's an agenda for the 21st century. There's a facilitating organization, the ICLEI, that goes around everywhere trying to implement these things. They're trying to get a small arms treaty that's basically what the government is trying to do. And the whole thing is getting really depressing. And I was wondering if you had to think about any of those things.
Well, I think the fees that you were talking about were in 1076, which
Yeah, but also the insurance too.
I think those two, 1076 and the insurance bill are not, are no longer on the table this year. I would never say everything's off the table.
Can I just add though, there's one thing that, this is the first time Senator McKinney's been here, but the one thing he's been the leader on and all of us have agreed on, and I hope everybody here realizes it after watching this, Connecticut does not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. And every time you see these fees and surcharges and everything going up, they're raising more money to try and cover their increased spending. So if there's one thing I hope you walk away from, is we are committed to the idea of not only living within our means, but we're not having a problem with revenue. We all know you're overtaxed. We know the businesses are very upset by it. We haven't gotten, as you said, our fiscal house in order, and that's what we have to do. That's our responsibility.
Go ahead. Yes, ask
Yeah,
a question.
just a bit of irony here. I noticed that you were talking about these ridiculous gun bills, and then
Matt, I promise I'll get to you. You don't have to raise your hand.
what you were saying before about Malloy's incentives for bringing business in the state or moving it from town to town. I was just reading something the other day that Arizona, Texas, maybe both, they're just like, hey, Colt, a few others, Connecticut doesn't want you, you can't sell your stuff up there, come on down here. We'll pay your employees to come on down. And all of a sudden Malloy's like, whoa, wait a minute, not so fast, you can't do that.
So, look, that's happening every day, and that's been happening for the last 10 to 20 years. I've talked to companies and asked them, do you hear from other states? And they say we are bombarded by economic development agencies, whatever they're called, from all over the place. South Carolina, Florida, Texas. And they've been coming after our companies for a very long time. My hometown of Fairfield, General Electric headquarters, GE, has been spending hundreds of millions of dollars expanding facilities all around the country, but not in Connecticut. UTC, Pratt & Whitney, they moved 1,000 jobs to Georgia. Governor Rell actually came in and offered them, I think, $100 million package, about 20 a year over a course of 5 years. And they said, the money that we'll save by moving these jobs to Georgia is greater than that $20 million a year over the next 5
But
years.
what better time than now?
So it's been happening for a
What more, I know, but what
It's
more
been-
incentive do they need than now, if some of this stuff goes through?
For those specific companies, they don't. And I'm surprised they haven't I bet you people have talked to them about moving even before, so.
I'm going home. I'm 59. 6 more years, I'm retired. I'm already thinking about moving out. It's costly.
Matt, you're up, and then,
I have a solution.
okay.
Go ahead, man.
I'll make it quick, I'm sorry.
That's right, no, because when we're done, I'm gonna.
It's a
talk to
little
this
bit of
gentleman right
a,
here.
it's a little bit of a tongue in cheek. Can we recruit Tom Coburn to move in at 300 Capitol Avenue? Good.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Senator,
Capitol Avenue, is that the legislative office?
I don't think
Yeah,
it's-
it's the
Oh, okay.
Tom Coburn, he makes the list of the waste.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, never mind.
Sorry.
Slide 8, whoever has the clicker, please, slide 8, if you would.
Which slide?
Slide 8.
Okay.
I was trying to spring off of the spending problem and your new PR person who kind of left.
Right.
That 750 million is to cover day-to-day expenses, correct?
Correct.
Gas in the vehicles for the state, paying the salaries.
General operating fund.
We have a
And
cash
that's-
flow problem, and that's designed covered.
Correct.
That's been, and that bond issue is gonna be deferred, the principal and interest is deferred for 3 years, right?
On the second one, the
No,
2000.
number one still,
Yeah.
yeah. I was under the impression that bond issues were fixed, and Whit mentioned about half an hour ago referring to something of a variable cost in the interest expense.
When the interest rates go up, okay, not on the bond, but when the rates go up and we have all this debt,
Right,
okay, your interest rate, the amount of money you owe and the charges you're gonna get are gonna start going up. Not on the
We
fixed bond.
service the debt by borrowing more money.
right.
So then you're gonna see the increase in interest rates.
So it's not the physical bond itself, it's the issuing of more bonds.
Right.
I think so.
We go,
Right.
the state goes out to the market periodically throughout the year
Right.
and borrow. So every year we're doing that. So if the interest rates go up, next year when we have to do our normal borrowing, the cost of borrowing is gonna go up. And Whit, I wish the gentleman was here because this would even scare him more. Whit made a good point, which is, and Representative Vin Candelora, who's a Republican leader on the Finance Committee, has been a bulldog on this issue. What the state has a common cash pool, okay? And we have a practice of going out to the market and saying, we need $500 million to borrow for capital projects, road, bridges, school construction, and the like. And they sign all their bond agreements, right, with the lawyers, the fancy lawyers. And the state takes that $500 million, we put it into our common cash pool, and we spend it on our daily operations. We spend it to pay our bills. We spend it to keep the lights on. We spend it to heat the buildings, okay? And then we hope tax revenue comes back in, so we can go back over here and pay it to fix the roads and the bridges and the buildings, which is what the bond covenants, which is a legal document, says the money's supposed to be for. Well, we got so short on cash, and we kept asking the treasurer repeatedly. She said, no problem, no problem, no problem. And finally, they've acknowledged that we're so short on cash, we have to borrow money just so we have enough cash to keep the lights.
Is there any math that you're aware of, similar to the, in the national picture, you got 6-month T-bills, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 30 year, et cetera. They all come due in cascading effect. Is there any math that's interesting to point out about the state's bills that are coming due, or are they just? 'Cause
Pretty
they're-
standard stuff.
Okay.
So we can get you the numbers on what the interest rates would be, I don't know, I'm doing that.
It's all fun and games till the market takes over, right?